Hey everybody, this is Charlie from Charlie Cobra Reviews. Just want to say I hope you're having a wonderful day. This is going to be our review for Xuan Yuan Sword 7. So to start this review, I gotta say that I'm pretty mixed on how I feel about this game. For one, it definitely has a lot of potential and enough going for it that it could have been really good, but on the other hand, it had a lot of things that I feel could have been done better and falls far from being a great game to just around average for me. The story itself isn't terrible, but it suffers from bad writing and a subpar performance of the voice actors. The world itself seems like it could have been a lot more interesting, but it just wasn't engaging enough half the time. It seemed like it was going to be an open world game, but wound up being very linear in nature, although it had aspects of an open world game like side quests, fast travel, and even treasure chests scattered throughout the game world as well. Even if it doesn't help or is any way useful, I like to be able to make my character jump, and this game didn't let you do that either. There's a climbing mechanic that seemed kind of pointless because it was pretty much just a cutscene of in game graphics of you climbing a little cliff, or sometimes it would turn into an interactive part where you had to move the analog stick to move the character. Still, it was better than these weird times that the game gave you control of the character for a scene in which your only movement was preset in a straight line, like a ride on a rail that couldn't veer off a road. I liked that it was an action RPG, meaning instead of turn based combat like most RPGs, it had an active combat system where you could move at your own leisure and consisted of hack and slash combat with some martial arts skills, blocking, dodging, and some riposte or parrying. There are four basic martial arts skills which can be learned as you progress through the game: bull, wolf, bear, and tiger. They become stronger and increase the length or hits of their combos the more you use them. A big drawback is that you could only equip or use two at one time, although they can be changed at any time through the talent menu. Then there are three special martial arts skills, two of which are Tawu and Tundo. The combat was one of these things that had me really conflicted because it can be pretty fun sometimes. A cool thing I liked about the combat was that there was a meter that would go up when you would attack an enemy, and if it filled all the way before you killed them, you could perform an execution on them. Otherwise, it was very unresponsive most of the time, making dodging and parrying really hard and kind of useless. Also, once you had that meter filled and tried to do the execution, it was also the same button for the targeting system, so instead of doing the execution, you would wind up just switching targets to another enemy that you couldn't do the execution on. Also, I found the blocking especially useless because of how much damage you still incurred. There's a skill tree for new martial arts, and you can create and upgrade structures in Elysium that can enhance various things such as weapon, armor, and accessories, and more. You can also use the fusion to capture the souls of enemies in combat and fuse them together in Elysium to equip them for bonus stats and effects. You're able to carry items in your inventory, which are mainly objects like items that don't do anything except advance the story or quest, and some like healing ones or weapons. There's an equipment screen for weapons and accessories, but you only stay with one weapon the whole game. It does change and become stronger, and its appearances change too, but I wish there would have been more weapons or at least different kinds of swords. Also, you can change outfits, which I'm not sure if you get them in the game as it progresses or not, because the version I played came with a couple of additional weapons and costume skins available from the beginning. You do wind up getting some party members, which is usually customary of most RPGs, and they help out by attacking enemies on their own. You can control them by activating some abilities or special attacks that have cooldown times for when you can use them again. And there's also a mini game called Zuolo Chess, and it can be pretty fun and a nice change of pace, but not what you were looking for when you bought the game. Now, you can save your game and recover health at random campfires throughout the game world, as well as listen to some party dialogue when you choose to rest. The dialogue tends to repeat often and doesn't really advance the story much or fit where you're at in the story that often. The game mechanics are similar to Dark Souls, as resting respawns enemies when you save at a bonfire and you get healed too. As mentioned earlier, the game employs a fast travel system consisting of waypoints called guard stones that you can activate when found. There is an element of puzzle solving in the game, but they don't seem to be that hard to figure out, and some can even be skipped if you don't want to bother with it. The graphics were pretty solid, and the game surely looks really good for the most part. The textures are sometimes rough in the environment, And sometimes there's a very noticeable instances of pop-ins, but the overall aesthetic and style is beautiful. You really never get to play games where you get to see an ancient Chinese, castle or cities or kingdoms, so that was nice. The leaves and the trees are even ruffled by the wind, which is also a nice touch. The main characters, like Zhao and his sister Shang, look great, and so do most of the secondary characters, like Chu Hong and Mo Huang. It just makes it that much more disappointing when you see subpar detail in the NPCs and stiff cutscenes because you know they could have done better on those too. Maybe they didn't have enough time, manpower, or budget. The music was probably one of the best additions to the game as a whole. Containing traditional Chinese sounds and instruments befitting the setting, the music was great. There's some instances where there's no music and the void is filled with nothing but awkward silence or the sound of footsteps. Only the mediocre voice acting fills the dead air, and background music would have been a welcomed addition in certain parts to give more depth to the game. There's no English dubbing for the voice acting in the game. It's only in Mandarin or Chinese, which isn't bad in itself, except the performances are kind of hit and miss and not very balanced. The game seemed very rough around the edges. It lacked that polished feel that it would have gotten if it had been a AAA game instead of a AA game. Its linear aspects left little to no deviation for exploring the world other than the main quest making it feel like going through a tunnel from one location to the next, which is a shame because it was a pretty interesting world and looked beautiful in certain parts. The distances between the towns and villages also made the world feel really small, which it probably was. The story and gameplay were enjoyable enough, but writing and especially acting and the voice acting and key cut scenes needed work. The combat was so uninspired, I felt like I was doing the same sword attacks the whole game and that they never really changed. So in conclusion, I have to give Xuan Yuan Sword 7 a 5 out of 10. It's an average or okay game, which has its moments, but nothing to write home about. However, if they make a Xuan Yuan Sword 8, I'd be looking forward to see what kind of improvements they would make in the next installment. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day and checking out this review. Remember to like the video and subscribe to our channel to keep up to date on our latest videos, and hit that notification button if you don't want to miss any. Also, make sure to follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. And if you like watching video games, check out our live streams on Twitch where we're streaming every day, and our other channel here on YouTube where we post the streams at a later time. I'm Charlie Cobra, and have a great day.